Many people search their whole lives for signs, for certainty, for the assurance that love, true love, is real and destined. But what if you didn't have to chase it? What if, when someone is meant for you, you simply know, not through logic, but through something deeper, something instinctive, something the mind alone cannot fully grasp? The Swiss psychiatrist and psychologist Carl Jung believed that much of what shapes our lives lies beneath the surface of consciousness. He spoke of the collective unconscious, synchronicity, and the soul's quiet wisdom. In this speech, we explore love not as fantasy or fleeting passion, but as a soul-level recognition. Guided by the very inner forces Jung devoted his life to understanding. There are moments in life when we encounter someone, and everything within us stirs, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, inexplicable certainty. The feeling doesn't come from analysis, and it isn't the product of reason. It's not based on their appearance, their achievements, or even their words. It's deeper. It's something ancient inside you that says, "I know you." And though you might have never met them before, it feels like you've always known them. This knowing is not a matter of memory, it is something far more mysterious. The soul's recognition of its counterpart. We are mistaken if we think we only know others with our five senses. The psyche, which is the totality of the conscious and unconscious, sees far more than we are aware of. There are parts of us that live in shadow, buried below the surface of our day-to-day awareness, and these parts are often the ones doing the deepest seeing. When someone is meant for you, it is not your mind that sees them first, it is your unconscious. And your unconscious knows what your conscious self has yet to remember. That is why the experience of meeting such a person often feels dreamlike. You might feel a strange sense of calm, as though something long awaited has finally arrived, or perhaps you feel disoriented, as if the boundaries between your inner and outer world have blurred. In truth, that's exactly what has happened. The boundary between what you know and what you've forgotten has momentarily dissolved, and in that space, you feel the presence of someone who was always part of your story. This is why we say, "It just felt right." It's not because we've evaluated a list of criteria or logically concluded that this person fits into our life. It's because something within us has responded in a way we cannot explain. And this response is not accidental. It arises from the deep structure of the soul, which has been shaped not just by our personal experiences, but by the patterns of humanity itself, by the ancient, invisible architecture of the psyche. Some call it fate, others call it intuition, but what it really is the resonance of two unconscious systems aligning. You are not drawn to them by accident. You are drawn because your inner world recognizes their presence as significant to your becoming. This is not always comfortable. The soul is not interested in comfort. The soul is interested in growth, in remembering, in waking up. So the people who are meant for us often stir something we don't fully understand. There may be silence between you and them, yet that silence is rich with meaning. There may be words exchanged, but they are often secondary to the feeling that pulses just beneath. You don't need to explain it to yourself because the experience precedes explanation. It's like remembering a dream the moment you see their face, not in detail, but in essence. Something in you says, "Ah, yes, you." And perhaps this is why such encounters feel sacred, because they remind us that there are dimensions of love and connection that the rational mind cannot grasp. They remind us that not all truths need to be understood to be real. Some truths are felt, lived, and remembered not through facts, but through presence. You might find yourself wondering how it's possible to feel so deeply, so quickly. How could such recognition arise in an instant? And yet, what if time is not the only measure of knowing? What if there are truths that lie outside of time? Truths the soul has carried long before this lifetime began. In that case, recognition would not be a miracle, it would be a return. When someone is meant for you, you do not need to force understanding. The connection will unfold as you begin to trust what you feel, not with blind emotion, but with the quiet authority of inner knowing. And while it may not always be easy or even logical, you will notice that something within you has shifted. Something has clicked into place. A door has opened, not outside of you, but within. You may not know what it means right away. That's all right. The unconscious does not work according to the clock. It speaks in symbols, in instincts, in moments of knowing that the mind has not yet caught up to. But if you listen, if you dare to honor what you feel, you will discover that this recognition is the beginning of something profound. Not necessarily a romantic fairy tale, but something truer, a journey toward becoming more whole, more real, more yourself. Because when someone is meant for you, the soul remembers. There are things that happen in life that are too precise, too timely, too full of meaning to be dismissed as random. A chance meeting, a name you keep hearing, a dream that mirrors waking life. Most people call these coincidences and move on. But if you pay attention, truly pay attention, you begin to notice a different rhythm underneath the surface of your days. A subtle pattern, a secret order that seems to pull you toward a certain person, a certain place, a certain moment, again and again. When someone is meant for you, life will leave traces. It does not shout, but it whispers. And if you listen, you'll hear it. What we often call coincidences are not accidents. They are events connected by meaning, not cause. This is why when you meet someone who is meant to be in your life, the meeting rarely feels forced. It often arrives when you're not looking, when your guard is down, when you are open, not just outwardly but inwardly. Something in you has shifted, and the external world responds. You might bump into them in a place you rarely visit, or perhaps they show up in a conversation days before you meet them. A book falls off the shelf with their name inside. A song plays, one they mentioned. Over and over again, you are led toward their presence, as if the universe has decided to draw an invisible thread between you and them. The rational mind will try to brush this off, to file it under just a coincidence, but the psyche knows better. The psyche understands that meaning is not always rational. It is felt, it is intuited, it is lived. And in these moments of deep alignment, something awakens inside you. A quiet wonder, a sense that you are not lost in chaos, but moving within an invisible web of connections. You begin to realize that when someone is meant for you, the world doesn't just bring them into your life, it prepares you for them. Long before you meet, you are being guided. Your dreams shift, your thoughts turn. You begin to feel a change that you cannot explain, as if your soul is making room. But do not think that this kind of guidance will always be loud or dramatic. It is often subtle. Life speaks in quiet signs. A repeated symbol, a flicker of intuition, the feeling that something is about to happen though you cannot say why. The signs do not force you, but they invite you. And if you accept the invitation, if you follow the thread of meaning instead of ignoring it, you will find yourself walking into the path of someone whose presence feels like destiny. Now, this doesn't mean the relationship will be smooth or effortless. What is meant for you still requires your courage, your attention, your willingness to grow. But what distinguishes this person is not ease. It's significance. They don't just show up in your life, they resonate with it. And the signs that preceded them suddenly make sense. You look back and realize that the dreams, the conversations, the strange repetitions were all pieces of a larger puzzle, one that only makes sense now that they've appeared. It is no accident that your paths crossed at exactly this moment. You may think, why not earlier? Why not later? But the truth is, something within you and something within them had to be ready. That readiness is not something you always feel consciously. Often it is born through suffering, change, silence. It is prepared in the background of your life while you are busy doing something else. But when it is time, the signs begin to appear. One by one, they lead you to each other. Many people miss these signs because they are looking for control instead of meaning. They want certainty. They want proof. But meaning does not operate under the rules of logic. It does not arrive with scientific precision. It comes softly, through impressions, dreams, echoes. If you live only by what can be measured, you will overlook the most important parts of your life. You will miss the soul's language entirely. So when the signs come, when the names repeat, when the places align, when the same thought returns like a tide, don't dismiss them. Sit with them. Feel them. Trust that there is something beneath the surface that is trying to guide you, not through force, but through resonance. And when that person appears, when the timing feels impossibly perfect, you will know. This is not chance. This is meaning unfolding in time. Because when someone is meant for you, life does not keep them hidden. It starts to prepare you in ways you don't understand, until suddenly you do. There is something remarkable that happens when you meet someone who is meant for you. At first, you may feel drawn to them by some invisible current, something you cannot explain. It's not just about warmth or comfort. It's deeper, more primal. There's a gravity between you, as though something buried within you is being stirred. But what many do not expect is that this kind of connection doesn't only awaken love. It awakens the parts of yourself you have long forgotten or rejected. It brings light to the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It is not a flaw. It is simply all that you have cast aside in order to survive, to adapt, to be accepted. It is everything that lives just beneath your surface. Your fears, your vulnerabilities, your longings, and also your hidden strengths. And when someone is truly meant for you, they do not come merely to mirror your light. They come to awaken what you have hidden from yourself. They will not do this deliberately or with intent. It is something that happens naturally, simply by their presence in your life. Suddenly, emotions you thought were long resolved rise again. You may find yourself irritated, exposed, deeply moved, or even confused by how they make you feel. Not because they are unkind, but because they touch something raw inside you, something unfinished. You may see in them traits you deny in yourself. You may feel challenged, not in an aggressive way, but in a way that demands you become more honest, and it is in this process that you begin to grow, not by comfort, but by confrontation, not by ease, but by reflection. We often imagine that the person meant for us will make life easier, but that is a misunderstanding. The soul does not seek comfort, it seeks wholeness. And wholeness requires that we face the parts of ourselves we have long refused to see. The person meant for you is often the one who triggers your growth, not by criticism, but simply by being who they are. Their existence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror you see your truth. This is why these relationships can feel intense. They do not just offer affection, they demand transformation. They show you where you are still wounded, where you are still hiding, and in doing so they give you the chance to become more fully yourself. But this transformation is not always gentle. Sometimes it is painful. Sometimes it feels like breaking. But what breaks is not your spirit, it is your illusion. What shatters is the false self you built to protect yourself from being hurt. And in that breaking, something real emerges. Many people run from this kind of connection. It feels too vulnerable, too uncertain. They seek relationships that are smooth, controlled, predictable. But predictability is not the same as depth, and if you are to become whole, you must be willing to face the unknown, not just in the world, but within yourself. The person meant for you will not allow you to stay asleep. Their presence will awaken a deeper truth, a calling to rise, to integrate, to evolve. You may resist it, you may feel overwhelmed, but part of you knows that this discomfort is necessary, that through this person you are being asked to heal, not for them, but for yourself. You are being invited to look into your own depths and reclaim what you lost. The anger, the grief, the desire, the creativity, all of it. The person meant for you becomes a doorway through which the unconscious steps forward, not to haunt you, but to liberate you. This is not about idolizing another person or placing them above yourself. It is not about obsession or dependency. It is about recognizing that this connection has a purpose beyond comfort. It carries the force of meaning, and meaning always transforms. You do not meet them and stay the same. You meet them and begin the journey of becoming who you truly are. So do not fear the intensity. Do not retreat from the reflection. If this person unsettles you, it is not necessarily a sign of danger. It may be a sign of awakening. Ask yourself what they are showing you. What part of yourself they have touched that you've ignored. Look honestly, listen closely, let it humble you. Let it change you. Because when someone is meant for you, they will not only love you, they will reveal you. There are experiences in life that defy logic, that unfold without the need for explanation, and yet leave a lasting imprint on the soul. When you meet someone who is meant for you, one of the first things you feel is a strange and quiet sense of wholeness. Not perfection, not fantasy, but wholeness. As if something within you has been remembered, not added. It's not that they complete you, but that their presence reflects a part of yourself that had long remained unseen. You are not suddenly made whole by them, but the wholeness that was always possible within you begins to rise to the surface. This feeling does not shout, it hums. It doesn't overwhelm you with excitement, instead it grounds you in a calm knowing. You may not understand why, but you feel safe. Not because everything is certain, but because something essential feels right. It's not about who they are on paper, it's not about whether they check every box. It's the way your inner world responds to theirs. The way your soul recognizes them, not as a stranger, but as something familiar. And it's that familiarity that brings peace, even if you cannot explain it. Many spend their lives searching for someone who will bring excitement, a spark, a rush. But these things, while intoxicating, are often unstable. What you find instead, with someone who is truly meant for you, is not just a fleeting spark, but a steady flame. There is resonance, there is rhythm, and even when nothing is said, there is a sense of being deeply understood. This sense of wholeness comes from something beyond physical attraction or shared interests. It arises from the connection between your inner worlds. You may not share the same background, the same preferences, or even the same path, but something in your essence aligns. And it's this alignment that allows you to be more of yourself, not less. You feel more honest, more alive, more real. Because their presence doesn't demand a performance, it invites authenticity. The masks you've worn begin to fall, not because you've forced them off, but because they are no longer needed. And yet this connection is not always soft. Sometimes it challenges you. Sometimes it stirs the parts of you that you've kept hidden. But even in the discomfort, there is a sense of rightness. You are not being broken down. You are being revealed. You are not losing yourself, you are finding the parts you forgot. The person meant for you does not lead you away from yourself. They bring you closer to the center, closer to the truth. They awaken the parts of you that are aligned with your deeper nature. Wholeness is not the absence of flaws, it is the integration of them. It is when you are seen not in spite of your imperfections, but through them. The person meant for you will not see you as a project or an ideal. They will see you as a whole being, in process, just as they are. And in that shared understanding, there is room to breathe, room to grow, room to exist in your fullness without shrinking or pretending. When someone is meant for you, you don't feel possessed. You feel free, free to explore your depths, free to question and evolve, free to walk your path with someone who doesn't pull you away from your purpose, but reminds you of it. Their presence acts as a mirror, not just of who you are, but of who you are becoming. And as you move through the changes of life, they do not resist your growth. They encourage it. They are not afraid of your becoming, because they too are becoming. And so you move together, not in perfect harmony, but in honest companionship. It is in these rare connections that we understand something essential about love. That love is not merely about feeling good. It is about feeling real. And the more real you feel in their presence, the more whole you become. You are not striving to earn love or prove yourself worthy. You are simply unfolding, layer by layer, in the presence of someone who sees the truth beneath it all. This is not a fantasy. It is not about idealizing another person or turning them into a symbol. It is about the quiet recognition that with this person, your inner world feels known. That with them, you are not performing life. You are living it. Fully, truthfully, together. Because when someone is meant for you, the feeling of wholeness is not a dream. It is a return to something that has always lived within you, waiting to be awakened. There is something quietly miraculous about the timing of life, though we seldom recognize it in the moment. Often, when we look back, we can trace the strange delays, the missed chances, the sudden endings that once caused us pain or confusion. And we see that they were not delays at all. They were preparations. They were necessary steps, even in their difficulty. When someone is meant for you, life does not rush the process. It unfolds with a kind of sacred patience, ensuring that you and they arrive not only in the same place, but in the right state of being to truly meet. And this is not always easy to accept. We are creatures of longing, and the heart does not always understand why it must wait. It aches for connection, it searches for meaning, and it often demands immediacy. But the deeper rhythms of the soul are not bound by the urgency of the ego. They operate on a different clock. One that knows that true love, the kind that transforms, cannot be forced. It must emerge when the conditions are right, and those conditions are rarely created by desire alone. They are shaped by experience, by loss, by awakening, by the gradual shedding of what no longer serves us. The person meant for you often does not arrive when you are comfortable. They arrive when you are ready. And readiness does not mean perfection. It means honesty. It means you have seen enough of your own reflection to recognize what is real. It means you have suffered enough to know what is false. It means you have surrendered, even slightly, to the truth that you are not in control of every unfolding, and yet, somehow, you are exactly where you need to be. You may have crossed paths before. You may have lived parallel lives, circling the same places, the same cities, the same moments, without ever knowing. But something held you back. Some unfinished inner work, some unspoken fear, some buried wound, and life, in its wisdom, knew that if you had met before that work was done, you might have missed each other entirely. You might have misunderstood the gift. You might have met with eyes too clouded by projection to truly see. So instead, life brings them to you at the precise moment when something within you is prepared to recognize them. Not with fireworks or certainty, but with clarity. A quiet yes in your chest, a soft unfolding in your presence. And often, you don't even realize the preparation that brought you here until you are already standing before them. You only begin to see how every closed door, every heartbreak, every chapter of solitude was shaping you, gently, painfully, beautifully, into someone who could love with awareness rather than illusion. What is meant for you does not come to fill a void. It comes to meet you in your fullness. It is not a rescue, it is a reunion. And for that reunion to take place, you must have first returned to yourself. You must have reclaimed the parts of you that were scattered, denied, or forgotten. This is why the waiting often feels so long, because it is not a waiting for the other, it is a waiting for yourself. For the moment when your heart is no longer searching for someone to save it, but is instead open enough to truly meet another. And when that meeting happens, it feels like more than a coincidence. It feels like something has been aligned, not by force, but by flow. As if life itself has conspired to bring you together, not just because of desire, but because of readiness. And in that readiness, love can begin. Not the fantasy, not the projection, but the real thing. The slow, deliberate, sacred unfolding of two lives that recognize in each other something timeless. Do not curse the waiting. Do not rush the unfolding. Life is always arranging the details in ways you cannot see. Trust that the delays are not rejections but redirections. Trust that the silence is not emptiness but preparation. Trust that what is meant for you will never pass you by, but it may wait for the right moment to arrive. Not when you are trying to be someone else. Not when you are desperate or grasping, but when you are still enough, honest enough, healed enough to receive it with open hands and an open heart. Because when someone is meant for you, life does not just bring them, it prepares you both, patiently, silently, perfectly, for the moment you are finally ready to see each other and truly meet. There is a peculiar feeling that arises when you meet someone whose presence seems to reach beyond the ordinary. It's not just affection, nor is it infatuation. It is a deeper sense that your life has somehow been altered simply by encountering them. And perhaps the most mysterious aspect of this connection is that even without trying, even in silence, their energy remains with you. They live within your thoughts, not as an obsession, but as a quiet, consistent presence, as if they have become woven into the fabric of your being. This is not something you can force, nor is it something you can explain. It does not depend on how long you've known them or how much you've spoken. It is not built on logic or reason. Instead, it moves through the inner world, touching places that words cannot. You may try to distract yourself, to move on, to explain away the significance of the encounter. But something in you resists forgetting, not because of attachment, but because something meaningful occurred, something that echoed. This is what happens when someone is meant for you. They don't just pass through your life, they leave an imprint on your soul. Their presence awakens something, and once awakened, it cannot be put back to sleep. You may go your separate ways, you may fall out of contact, you may not even fully understand the role they played, but the impact remains, and not in a way that confines you, in a way that expands you. They become a symbol of a deeper truth, a mirror of something you didn't know you carried inside you. Often, this kind of connection reveals itself more clearly in its absence. You begin to notice that long after they've left the room, they are still with you. Not haunting, but holding. Not pulling, but present. In a moment of silence, you think of them. In a decision you're about to make, their voice echoes in your awareness. You catch yourself growing in ways you never expected, and somehow you know that it began when you met them, that something about their presence stirred you into remembering who you truly are. This is the mark of the meaningful. It does not demand attention. It invites reflection. It does not chain you. It frees you. It does not cling. It releases. And yet, in all of this, it remains. Quietly, steadily, undeniably. There are people who pass through your life like wind through trees, rustling the leaves for a moment, and then gone. And then there are those who, without trying, take root in your inner world, not to possess it, but to enrich it. Not to dominate it, but to illuminate it. You may never understand fully why this person affected you the way they did, but something in you knows that their presence was not random. It came at a time when you needed to remember something vital, a truth about yourself, a path you were meant to walk, a feeling you had buried long ago. And this is often how the soul speaks, through people, through moments, through encounters that linger. Sometimes, These connections are not meant to last in the physical realm, but their spiritual imprint endures, and this can be difficult for the rational mind to accept. It wants closure, clarity, definition, but the soul is not so concerned with form. It cares for essence, and essence doesn't fade with distance or time. It remains, transforming you, reminding you, becoming part of who you are becoming. It is a mistake to think that only the relationships that last physically are the ones that matter. Some of the most profound connections are the ones that move through you like a wave and then recede, leaving you forever changed. And you may grieve the absence, but even in that grief there is gratitude, because they gave you something eternal, a glimpse of what is possible, a memory of what is real. And so, if someone stays with you, if they continue to walk through your thoughts long after they've left your life, don't be alarmed. It does not always mean you must return to them. It may simply mean they were part of your unfolding, a chapter you were meant to read, a mirror you were meant to gaze into. And whether they remain by your side or not, they have already given you what they came to give. Because when someone is truly meant for you, their presence lingers, not to haunt you, but to remind you of what is sacred, what is timeless, and what lives far beyond the boundaries of ordinary understanding. If this message stirred something within you, if it made you reflect on a connection you felt deep in your soul, then don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the deeper truths we uncover here. And if you're ready to go even further, watch the next video where we explore the hidden reasons why the universe brings certain people into your life at exactly the right moment. Thank you.